So you guys ready to get into this?
Restart.
Hello, welcome back to Showboys. We're here with episode 6 of Arcane season 2. We're going to be breaking down and reacting to the message hidden within the pattern. Of course, the 6th episode here of season 2 of Arcane. We're loving season 2. I think it's safe to say, yes, we're all loving season 2.
Oh yeah, it's good time.
Okay, good. But before we get into that, we gotta, of course, do our housekeeping. Got to shout out our top tier patrons: Tim B, Usfage, Josie. You know what, Nick? We had a new Patreon member like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that we haven't mentioned, but
shout out
Kumino signing up.
That's right.
For Patreon. What
Stream
a guy!
Team.
You guys should be like Kumino. Sign up for Patreon. If you're wondering what Patreon is or how you can support us, head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. There are 4 different tiers for Showboys and a Pokeboys tier, ranging anywhere from $1 to $10, I believe. But yeah, that's just a way you can sign up to support us monthly financially. It really means a lot. All of our patrons, you guys are awesome. Your support means the world. But if you're not able to sign up on Patreon, that's okay. We're just glad you're here watching. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a review or a comment on the video. We are still giving away the season 1 Steelbook, Blu-ray and 4K version of Arcane here. The 4K is Jinx. You think I would know this by now because we do this like every episode. But I want to say the 4K is Jinx and the Blu-ray is Vi, or is it the other way around?
Now you're confusing me. Blu-ray is Vi.
Blu-ray is Vi. That's right.
4K is Jinx.
That's right. Okay. So, subscribe and leave a comment to enter the giveaway. We'll be giving those away in the finale here in a few episodes. Anything else we need to get out of the way before we jump in?
Don't think so. The one thing that we do need to get out of the way is your brief thoughts on episode 5, since you missed out last week.
Oh yes. Episode 5. Good episode. A little bit of a family reunion happening. Brawler Vi, dude. Let me just say, very cool looking. Like Vi was looking awesome in episode 5. And her skin in League of Legends, which we just need to give a little update. I started playing League of Legends again, guys. It's not good. It's not good. I found out, I was talking to Venom today, that the Twitch Prime capsules that they used to give out, I got the Browns game on and we just had an awesome interception. But they would contain a little bit of RP, so I had just like a random stash of RP, and I'm thinking I might buy the Brawler Vi skin because it looks really awesome. Yeah, it was cool and very fitting to the rest, or the episodes we've covered so far, where we continue to have the like dual sides of the coin, in almost an back-to-back episode fashion. Episode 4, Jinx got to meet Vander and Warwick. Episode 5, Vi got to meet Vander/Warwick. So it's very fitting. I thought the reunion was cool. The fight scene was cool. We had the cool like comic-y visual effect as he's like chasing down the scent of blood. It was cool to have the little backstory of Silco and Vander and Jinx and Vi's mom. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Venom, in our chat, or was it Nick? You were saying there's kind of a lot of deep cut stuff that Venom was going through during the episode.
Oh yes.
Lay a few real quick on me, Venom. See if I picked up what they were putting down.
All right. So the 2 main ones that I had to go into a little bit of a deep dive on, we get a major reveal by Caitlin from her Kiraman key. She finds out Singed is actually the Dr. Revik from League of Legends lore.
Okay. Who's Dr. Revik?
Dr. Revik is the father of a playable League of Legends character.
Oriana.
Yes.
Oriana.
We had to do a little bit of a dive into that because
Yes.
obviously the Oriana that we see in episode 5 is not the Oriana that we get in
Not yet.
League of Legends. Well,
Yeah.
and technically speaking, not at all that we know of. It appears we're doing some kind of a either retcon or something's going on with the lore here. Because at the point that episode 5 should be happening in established lore, Oriana should already have most of her organs replaced by clockwork machines.
Which,
And
of course, you kept seeing the little pocket watch whenever Singed was around. So they've been kind of teasing this from the start.
Yep. And in League of Legends lore, Dr. Revik is a scientist that specializes in prosthetics, where in this one, Singed is obviously, and Singed and Dr. Revik were alchemists and very, very brilliant at that. So there's a little bit of a mix up going here with stuff probably being changed around a bit. Not the first time that Arcane would be doing that.
Right.
So it'll be super interesting to see, do we get more in that storyline? Anything that explains, how do we end up with Oriana? And then
But it's going to have something to do with Victor, just saying.
Right, definitely something going on now that we have episode 6 under our belts and we finally get to see Victor again. But as of 5, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
The other big reveal is the Mel line, and the part that I kind of went into a deep dive on is something that you actually called out during our first Mbessa dive.
My unhinged tangent.
Your unhinged tangent, but one of the names you mentioned in association with Noxus during that is in some way, shape, or form related to Mel. And I was curious if you picked up on that one at all.
I did not.
Dummy.
I was too hyped about Oriana. I was like, yes, Oriana. Which was another thing that I think threw out in episode 0 potentially. But I loved the next to her like little back to tank was the little like ballerina wind up toy, which I was like, oh, that's amazing. But no, what is the Mel thing?
So when Mel realizes that Kino is not actually her brother, she smashes his head into the wall and he starts shifting forms and ultimately ends up on a black shadowy figure with teardrop shapes under their eyes, which would indicate that this is very likely LeBlanc. Yeah, the
interesting
head of the Black Rose, but again, not mentioned by name, just like Oriana was not mentioned by name, but just little drops of lore that call
maybe out. Almost as if us League of Legends fans may have a little insight into what may come in the show. It's almost like, a good reason to listen to these podcasts. Come on, guys. We're nailing them. We're just checking the bold predictions off the list now. But yeah, episode 5 is really cool. I thought the Kino thing was cool. very interested to continue to learn about this like little magic dungeon prison thing that Mel is in. And it was announced a week or two ago that Mel's going to be a playable character in League pretty soon. And we kind of, I don't know if it's like a hint at her kit or anything, but probably a little bit. But the like explosion of light or energy or whatever that happens there as she's kind of like getting chained up, almost like she was the name of her assistant. But yeah, to like break the chains of the Black Rose magic.
To break the chains of LeBlanc.
Yes.
Which is an ability of hers in the game.
Definitely is an ability, a very annoying ability.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a good episode. But like you were saying in our chat that nobody else can see or read, so I keep referencing this behind the scenes chat. I'm sorry, but to somebody maybe not as into the League lore or as current with the game and characters in the game and stuff, this could possibly kind of be like a duller episode for them. But I was loving every second of it. And now I got those thoughts out of the way. Let's get into 6. Thanks for asking, Nick, by the way. Appreciate it. Venom, you are very excited to talk about episode 6.
Yes, I am.
So why don't you start us off with just why are you so excited about this episode?
So as of yet, of course, we've been going through season 2. There's been a couple of down episodes. We had episode 2 itself was a bit mellow. Episode 5, if you don't know the deep cuts, is a bit mellow. Episode 3, I think we all kind of agreed, was the worst of all the act endings that we have seen so far. So we're hoping episode 6 here comes out with a bang. And ultimately, we've agreed in the past that episode 3 of season 1 is the best episode so far. I would like to kind of approach episode 6 in, does it meet or exceed those standards that we now, of course, rose tinted glasses and everything for episode 3. And it's been a while since we've watched it now, since before the primer. But does episode 6 in your mind meet or exceed what we found in episode 3, season 1, as the best episode so far?
Nick, you want to answer first?
Oh, man. That's a tough question. I should have been thinking about that as I rewatched the episode, because you asked that yesterday in preparation for this viewing. I think they are definitely similar in terms of their build up, their impact to the story, in terms of like shock factor. And to me, that's always a very important thing about any anime medium of content, is like that like shock factor early on, but also throughout, at unequal intervals. And that's what I think makes a good anime. Attack on Titan does that very wonderfully, where very like episode 3, like you are just completely shocked at what they're revealing already and about the story. And that's what episode 3 of Arcane did in season 1. So this one, I would say, where episode 3 of season 1 was so well grounded and so well straightforward in terms of like the impact of these characters that we just met, already going through such a pretty intense, scene story-wise, and we just met them. I think this accomplishes a lot of those same things with characters we have been with for a while, and really not as a finale thing, but like as a penultimate, if you want to say Act 2 is kind of like the penultimate act before we go into the final swing of things.
The penultimate of the penultimate.
Yeah, for sure. It does a really, really good job at recapturing that energy. On a second watch, I definitely like this episode a ton. And I would think, narratively wise, it is better because of how much is happening in this episode.
Oh, no. And this is exactly what episode 2 did to us. Just left us on an epic cliffhanger before the punctuation at the end.
Yeah, and like it gets all the way there. But it also, it resolves things in this episode, or it gets the points that you want to. And then it just like rips them away. And like that's what episode 3 did. And like this does it more intensely because we've been with these characters, and like one of them like literally just came back. Another person just came back too. All but Victor. So it's way more, I think it is more memorable. Obviously more recent, but it's awesome. I do like it a lot.
I think it's hard to say this one is better than episode 3, just because we've had such a long time to like sit with episode 3 and then seeing it, how the rest of the season played out and all that. But this episode was good, like very good on multiple levels. The sheer number of characters all interacting with each other, very, very high. We have Jace is back. We got to see Victor again. It's been a couple episodes for both of those. Vi and Caitlin are interacting again. Jinx and Vi. We have Warwick / Vander trying to be rehabilitated. But I think what puts this episode, again, I can't myself say it's better than 3, but what puts it around the same level is where we get the answer, or not the answer, but the shifting of Victor to the Machine Herald. Like I listened to like an almost audiobook style reading of one of the lore stories for Victor. I forget what it's called, but it was probably like 20 some minutes long. But it did a good job of kind of like explaining his origins and how he became the Machine Herald and his interaction with Hex Tech and the Academy and all that stuff. And his whole like shtick is humanity. While at first, he was human and like believed in humanity, he started to realize the efficiency of technology, right? And how humanity gets in the way of that, because humans have emotions and thus are not as efficient as technology is, because, well, humans are complicated and sometimes they don't do the smartest or most efficient thing. So this whole time we've seen Victor in season 2, after he gets out of the Hex core cocoon, he is very much trying to bring humanity back to the lanes, the people of the lanes, in his restoration of them. And we see that in his attempt at restoring Warwick / Vander. I'll quit calling him Warwick because he's not named in the show. Vander. He's trying to restore Vander's humanity, right? He sees him deep down inside the beast, and he's trying to draw that humanity out. But in Victor's little monologue thing there at the end of the episode, I don't remember the exact words, but you get him vocalizing like, humanity isn't as great as I've been thinking it is, right? So we're starting to see that turn from, and they even call him the Herald, like he's the Herald, but now he's going to be the Machine Herald because he has this connection with the Hex Tech stuff, and he now just lost his faith in humanity, and we're going to see that shift. And I got really excited about that. What got you so excited, Venom?
So, like Nick said, one of the major things for what made episode 3 so impactful was they've done the first 2 episodes of setting up who these characters are and who this group is, and then they hit you with this massive tragedy, and suddenly a third of the characters you've been introduced to are now dead and gone. Major characters that you thought you're like, okay, these are going to be part of the story for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they rip those away from you in a tragedy, in a tragic accident, and you see the separation of Jinx and Vi, Powder and Vi at the time, and that sets the tone for essentially all of season 1 and even into season 2. What really got me about episode 6 here in season 2 is you've made it quite far with a lot of these characters. You've had a few new ones kind of introduced along the way, but these are now established characters, and you get 2 massive occurrences. One with Jace coming in. You finally get Jace and Victor back in the bromance that never seemed like it was going to end in season 1, and Jace essentially executes Victor.
Yes,
in his crazed Nom flashbacks, losing his mind.
We have 2 feral beasts now, Vander and Jace.
Right. and that completely catches you off guard of these guys were basically brothers, and now Jace is they were brothers in the pursuit of Hextech and the Arcane, and now one of them has essentially killed the other one and sworn off the pursuit of that of what they had literally spent their lives on. The other part is the fight with Warwick, with Vander, with Warwick. Vander is now gone after, and we can get into it obviously deeper. But the big thing that caught me is episode 3 was a tragic accident. Episode 6 ends with a huge sacrifice by a new character to save everyone else. When Isha goes in with Jinx's pistol, overloads it with Arcane, and sacrifices herself for the greater good. And that was the moment that really kind of tipped it over the scales for me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in both episodes 3 and 6, involves the apparent death of Vander.
Right.
Poor guy. Yeah, so I was looking through the notes here. The quote that Victor says that got me excited is, "That which inspires us to do our greatest good is also the cause of our greatest evil." So there's that flipping. But yeah, man, that Warwick like oozing out. What was he oozing out? It was like, it looked like orange lava. That has to be a skin. That has to be a skin in League. But yeah, dude, the Jace thing was really cool. You have like, I always forget that stupid councilman's name.
Sallow.
Sallow, that's it. Yeah, Sallow like somehow pulls him out of the hex like loop.
Yeah, kind of inadvertently, it appears that Salo is just there gathering materials for Victor, and in touching the core for the gate, activates whatever it is that basically ate Jace, then spits him back out when Salo arrives to grab the materials.
Rip Heimer and Echo, apparently.
Right. Still have not seen them in a while.
Yeah, but then
the episode 7 will start with those two, guaranteed.
That would make sense. Yeah, so then we have Jace talking to Sallow and Victor through Sallow was really cool. And yeah, to just see Jace flip into feral Jace is like no one can have the arcane, and just like destroys poor Sallow. But really is kind of Victor, like you were saying. That was a really cool moment. So I'm interested to see how that plays out in the final 4 episodes. 5? No, 4, 3, 7, 8, 9.
3.
Yeah.
Wow, dang.
Yikes.
I can't count.
Nope.
Florida. Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
The Salo stuff was in episode 5.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I watched them both.
Episode 6. Episode 6, Jace literally walks in and blasts a hole through Victor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is right. Oh, geez. Yeah. So I watched them both at the same time. So rip me. But yeah, I totally forgot. He just puts a giant like Terminator style hole right through the chest of Victor.
He's for 2 episodes he's back. He happens to end each episode with killing someone with that hammer of his.
Dude, his hammer is so sweet. Yeah, so we kind of, I mean, obviously the end is like,
yeah, it's over. See you guys later. That's
like the focal point there. I mean, there's like a ton that happens in this episode, but that's obviously where like all the important stuff happens. Isha's sacrifice. I mean, Venom, you can't answer this because you've seen the entire season. But Nick, I mean, you don't really think Vander's dead, or anyone else that was in that small, close-quartered group, which included Jinx and Vi.
If
Caitlyn was Caitlyn.
She was close.
Like,
Vi was carrying Caitlyn, and Vi went and grabbed Jinx. So like of them,
Kate was carrying Vi because Vi got cut.
Oh, that's right.
And then somehow Vi managed to break loose of Caitlyn to stop Jinx from rushing in to save Isha, and but everyone was in pretty close proximity to what very clearly looked like it vaporized Isha instantly.
I think if this episode, if it was every other arc besides this arc, everyone's just vaporized and dead because there ain't no going back from that. But I think in this arc we've really established like a new tier dimension of Arcane, where we're really moving into like this ethereal, even like quantum realm, if you will. Ant-Man the Wasp zone, where because we even get Victor and his girlfriend kind of exploring, right? That you can tell this is how they've done their research, because like they refound the core where Jace emerged from, right? And they were talking about how it's like how perfect it is, but also like self-destructive it is. And they're kind of exploring things that way. So I feel like maybe like that literally just like reset everybody into wherever Heimendinger and Echo are, right? Or maybe Vander is in a Vander form now, like basically his Warwick self is gone, like almost like as if he died and went to heaven and he's in like his pure self or whatever. Who knows? Like I think anything's on the table for this show at this point, because this arc has really moved us, kind of like Dragon Ball. We've moved into the fact that there are like there is another like god realm, the realm of the dead. Goku's on Snake Way here. Like we're really kind of leveling up what we can do in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. I'm interested, obviously, to see the aftermath of this, which means we won't see the aftermath of this until episode 8.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, clearly there's no way Vander can be dead, or Jinx, or Vi, or Caitlyn. They're kind of too central to the story. Yeah, I think it was pretty cool to see Isha kind of take charge there. Doesn't she grab the extra hex cores
From
from
gloves.
Vi's gauntlets?
So
Yeah,
she has 3.
yeah, that was cool, and it's kind of like, you see basically Isha's like powder, right? And like it's the inverse again of episode 3 of season 1, where instead of she did cause destruction, but it was in a positive way instead of a negative way, and of course still included poor Vander. But yeah, how did we get to this in the commune here? Which, by the way, the commune that escalated quickly.
Right.
Like,
we haven't seen Victor in 3 whole episodes, and he's got a whole utopic.
It's been like at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he's sprouted an entire village and commune of people. That was wild. But yeah, so we have, again, I watched 5 and 6 back to back. So if I blur anything from 5 into 6, like I've already done, I apologize. But Kate, how did she capture Vi again?
Well, you're
exactly.
Really
How did they
forward.
cross?
Where are you going with this? Like,
we already started at the end,
Whoa.
so like the whole episode's like
you can just work
free range now.
though.
All right. Well, you tell us. You take us where we need to go, Nick.
Well, all the way kind of at the beginning, we kind of get the follow up from the last episode where we get a continuation of this conversation between Jace and Victor, where they're kind of discussing the state of Victor. Victor doesn't really talk in this bit. It's really just them observing him in this very feral state, right? And it's kind of like him and his girlfriend. I forget her name, but they're kind of
Sky.
Yeah, they're kind of observing what's happening here, and like in episode 5 with the Black Rose, where like there was a Venom point out there was like a crack in Kino's voice, and that's how Mel knew it wasn't Kino. Like sensed the other entity behind the shell. Victor senses, right, this ancient like chaotic voice from within Victor or within Jace, and that's like what's driving him, because he's like, that's not Jace like solely here. So that was kind of like the tie up from what's up with Jace, and he's just like marking people on the spot with his hammer. So that they're just kind of
and his hammer like being all hex cord out, like,
well, cool. Arcane, I guess. And Venom and I were talking about this last episode, we're kind of talking about like this organic Arcane, which is kind of like the brown circly version. Then the Hex Tech is like the blue, very rigid,
right?
Spheres.
Like his hammer looks almost like a flesh like quality to it.
Yeah. The way I've kind of started to look at it is the all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs kind of thing. Arcane is is raw, pure magic, anything magic. Hex Tech is a
like confinement of it, channeling,
refined channeling of the arcane. So Hex Tech is a part of Arcane, but not all Arcane is Hex Tech.
Right.
So you've got this more organic, chaotic matter that has made up now Jace's hammer.
Right. And it looks so cool.
Right.
Oh, one more thing on the whole like machine, like organic thing. When Victor's like messing with that gear that like one half looks like the organic matter and then the other half is like clean polished machine. I was really hoping like, because that's kind of like rolling, like down the corridor or whatever as he's giving his like closing monologue. And I really was hoping it would fall on the like polished machine thing to show his like conversion into the machine herald and going that route. But it didn't. It landed on the other side. That made me a little sad. That was a bummer for me. But continue on, Nick.
Yeah, of course. And I think the main thread of this, much like episode 5, and this was the one knock on episode 5 that Venom had, was that we spent so much time following Jinx and Vi, right, and their quest for Warwick or Vander at this point. And that's very much like the main thread in this episode, which I was really enjoyable to watch, because it was a way different pace too than a lot of the other episodes, at least this season, and maybe the whole series, because I really enjoyed when they arrive at this village, right? They show up. We have the whole no weapons thing. We meet this character from before who was a drug addict and was the first one to be kind of healed. He was a shimmer addict and he's the first one to be healed. Yeah. Now he's kind of like the messenger, the like not right hand man, but like he's kind of the main liaison for Victor and his wishes about the commune. So I just really enjoyed that interaction and then them kind of like welcoming in. But like Vander's like cloaked and they're trying to like hide him, which is odd because like, what are you hiding? Everyone's like, yeah, no big deal. I mean, it is no big deal because they're all very peaceful here. Right. Very, very peak like utopia, like hippie vibe we have going here. Like absolutely just.
And it's important to note that like beasts, like humanoid beasts are not like a rare occasion in this world, right? So we have the Vastaya and stuff, but yeah, they did not conceal much of anything.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll say like I really just enjoy that thread all the way to like going up to Victor's hut on the hill and the flowers, very like Field of Reeds callbacks in my mind, from Egyptian lore. And I don't know. It set a very nice thread tone through the episode while all these other very dark things were happening with our other characters. Be it the Noxians and Mbessa, like really turned down like Mbessa crazy eye going on like the whole time. Or Jace lurking around, being super like spazzed out. So, we even get like weird like little bits of this community functioning, like they're growing food and they're just kind of going about their daily lives. We have later in the episode, Jinx is like hanging out in this like little like hut that's like suspended up in the air, like kind of like a nice little apartment up there. And I don't know, and Vi's like walk around eating apple when she spots was it Singed walking out? Yeah, when she spots Singed. So while all these other things are happening, I like how they connected it to still Jinx and Vi and their business here in this village while all these other things are happening, and they're kind of like not piecing things together, but they're keeping an eye on things. And I thought that was just like a really nice warm tone to really the whole episode and this whole season, because it's been very void of any kind of like warmness, because even like the nice pretty Piltover scenes we used to get are not really that great anymore because they're having a rough time up there too. So it was just a nice like change of tone. And I like that thread there.
Yeah. Yeah. The commune is definitely an interesting thing down there because they are in Zon still, but they're.
And I like how they showed that like 2 or 3 times where it's like you see Zon like from the perspective, if you're standing in the village and looking at Zon, there's like that corridor, and there you see some Zon like buildings and stuff, like, but you really feel like you're on the fringes here.
Yeah,
because this is the question I had, and maybe you guys can answer: why was their height markers from their home growing up in that field.
So in season 1, when Vi picks a fight with Savika and gets stabbed, Caitlin and Vi run away, and Vi jumps off down into the kind of shimmer wood, the camp where all the shimmer addicts are, and there's that one little building with the big Jinx sign up on top of it, and in that little building is the Vi and Powder markers of them kind of growing up and everything. And in that episode, and there's the little drawings back in the corner that Powder made and everything. So it's implicated that this was either a hangout of theirs, or what I almost think this is indicating is that this was literally a home for Jinx and Vi and their family at some point, because it shows as Victor is starting to return to humanity to Vander, you see images playing through Vander's mind of their mom, and then their mom and Vi, and then Powder comes along, and you've got the kids running all over the place.
Watercolor.
Actually,
we got that like twice. We got 2 watercolor montages.
Right. And it shows, and it cuts to their mom doing the little book above Vi's head and making the line.
Right.
And then it cuts to Vi looking at that very beam that used to be there from that hut they hung out in. So obviously this was a place very important to Vi and Jinx growing up, whether it was their home or whether it was, we don't really know. But my assumption is this outskirts of town used to be part of town, and during the rebellion something happened and it basically became this wasteland that all of the kind of homeless and drug addicts and injured people, they all kind of congregate here.
Sopa. So okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was just like, it's really just in a field, and it was clearly in the house, all but the flashback ago, and I was like, how did we get here? So I do think I do like that. It kind of connects it to Victor's, like when he saw that through Vander's memories, right? Like their vision for what Zon could be. And he said it was like beautiful or something to that effect. So maybe it's very fitting and appropriate that like Victor has kind of staged his revival, right, of this Zon utopia, where kind of the heart of it probably used to be when you had people like Silco and Vander hanging out in this exact same place.
Right. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mbessa and Singed, their little
gang
partnership, was that in 6 or 5?
5.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we have the commune, the Vi Jinx Vander situation happening, but we also have Mbessa and Caitlin and Singed and the Noxian raid party,
war band.
Just marching into the area in search of the beast, of course, because I'm sure you guys talked about it last episode, but Mbessa's encounter with the beast has intrigued her, and she sees, of course, a really good use for such a creature, as only a Noxian would, right?
Yep.
She wants to weaponize Warwick or Vander, so she makes a deal with Singed, like, hey, help me track this thing down. I want to use this. If you can't make me one. So he tracks Vander down to Victor's commune. So of course the Noxian party is coming in, trying to get their hands on Vander.
Good amount of time has gone by too, because we do get the whole Victor trying to heal Vander, like montage
multiple
of
attempts.
like days have gone, like a week. I like it. How many times I was like watching the second time? I'm like, we got at least like 3 night and day cycles in that one shot. So I just take it like a week has gone by.
Right. Yeah. At least, yeah, if not longer, because in this whole time, Singed had to obviously create a device to even track Vander to find out where he's at. So some level of time has passed, whether it be a few days or a couple weeks. I would certainly think it's been a couple weeks, especially because it's you get the start to see the toll that all of this repeated use of his magical abilities is starting to take on Victor. He's slowly losing and losing and losing his ability to do more with Vander, and ultimately we get Singed in there and makes the same comment. But
why is that? Like, is that just because he is like kind of born of Hex Tech, and Hex Tech is kind of finite and requires like a power source? Hence why in episode 5, what's his face was getting those power cells from the Hex core.
I'm guessing it's kind of something like that, where Victor needs to continually find sources of Arcane to channel into himself. And that's why later on when
he's like plugged in.
Yeah, when Jace comes in, Victor's literally floating up there and he's got all the cables connected to him. I'm assuming he's channeling whatever arcane energies are around that area. He's kind of channeling those into his being to replenish what he's been using. And
it's like Professor X.
Right. Yeah, so he's using this arcane energy that he is gathering into his body, but there's only so much of that he's going to be able to find, at least here. I mean, you would have to start searching out, I would assume, other runes and other sources of magic to continue to feed his need for arcane.
Yeah. So the raiding party, Ambessa and the Noxians, Singed Caitlyn are at the commune. I loved how I don't recall his name, but he tries to, pull the whole, no weapons allowed.
To the war party.
Yep.
Yeah, just the look of the henchman there is like, are you serious? But Ambessa obliges, and that's when they enter in, and Singed and Victor have their conversation. Basically, Singed is proposing like, all right, so I created Vander here, and we all see what he is. What if we mix?
You're beautiful.
Yeah, what if we mix his regenerative blood with your powers, and we can bring my daughter back to life?
Right.
Yeah.
I like how Victor could see his motivation, like underneath everything he was saying.
And that's something we haven't touched on here as well, and as the episode goes, we see it a little bit in episode 5 with Victor being able to inhabit the mind and body of Salo and literally see through his eyes and talk with Victor's voice through his body. Mm-hmm. And all of the members of this community all have the Victor handprint, the white hand
of
Saruman
on their face, and so what it really is being built here isn't just a utopic community. It is some form of collective intelligence that Victor can tap into, and that's where when you see him retreat back in to this other plane of existence, and Sky is there, whether Sky is an imagination of his mind or this could very well be Sky, because the Arcane did eat Sky back in season
true.
1. So this very well could be what is left of Sky in this higher plane. So Victor is actually creating some form of collective intelligence and shared being, and ultimately we see this works until it doesn't when you cut the head off, and now the entirety of the hive dies. At least that's what appears happens here, is when Jace blasts the hole in Victor, everyone that Victor has touched and integrated into the hive mind has now lost their collective mind and all collapse.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to untangle there, and I'm sure we'll get answers here in the final 3 episodes. But yeah, does Victor actually say the thing glorious evolution during this conversation here?
I think so.
Does he?
That's one of
maybe
his,
not the glorious,
voice.
but he gets really
He
close.
might not
to
say
it.
glorious, but he does say evolution, because we get into kind of the scientists sparring back and forth between Singed and Victor, where Singed is saying evolution is the future, and Victor is saying that, or is it the other way around? Victor might be saying that it is evolution is trying to supersede nature, to escape nature, to become essentially better than or above nature, and that's what he's trying to build here, is this collective intelligence, this collective being that is above just raw existence to begin with.
All the Victor mains were doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. He said the thing.
Yeah.
Glorious evolution. But yeah, yeah. The scientist versus scientist conversation, Singed and Victor, that was pretty interesting.
And Singed is still really hard. He's playing all the sides yet, because he's so Mbessa, of course, sees Warwick and sees him as a weapon that she can use. Singed kind of convinces her that no, you can't use Warwick as a weapon, but what is needed from Warwick is his blood. I need his blood. I need to drain the life force from Vander to gain his regenerative abilities, and essentially Singed thinks he has removed the humanity from Vander and created this killing machine that also has massive regenerative abilities. Well, of course, Singed wants these regenerative abilities for his daughter, but he tries to play this fearless super soldier up to Mbessa, saying, I need Vander's blood to make you super soldiers. And now he comes in and he's talking to Victor, and he's telling Victor, can you imagine what would happen if I crossed his blood with you? And it's all about how can Singed get Vander's blood? That's all this man really wants.
I bet at the end of the episode, Victor wishes he would have obliged.
Right. Well, and
dang it, I really could have used some of that regenerative blood right now.
No, he will not
Gaping
sacrifice
hole in my chest.
this man's humanity for his cause.
He will not sacrifice the glorious evolution.
No.
Yeah, and then the meanwhile, was this in episode 5 or 6? The Mbessa Caitlyn like Jedi training montage.
That was the beginning of 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mbessa kind of taking Caitlyn under her figurative wing. Yeah, very much reminded me of like every apprentice Jedi training sequence going on there.
Telling her the three pillars of Noxus.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of getting lost even on the second watch. I'm like, she's said like 5 things here. And then finally she's
Right.
like, I've discovered a 4th. I'm like, you mean a 6th? I was like,
yeah. Well, and
Obviously, counting is not one of your pillars.
and
yeah.
then she's like, you know, the 1 is at the top. And then
The
she
triangle.
describes them like she never described, you know, the corner, you know what I mean? Like she didn't continue with her analogy, in my opinion.
Well,
Like,
and it's hard because I don't really know where Arcane is supposed to fit into the League of Legends timeline, because everything in League of Legends is kind of determined by, was it before the creation of Noxus or after the creation of Noxus? There is no real calendar. So instead of BC for us before Christ and everything, you've got before Noxus BN, and you've got after Noxus AN.
Yeah.
That is the
Dang.
timeline that
Yeah.
they're that big of a deal?
Before they like
created
their society from like the tribes they were.
Yep. Yeah. So,
But they're that big of a deal that they get the Jesus before and after
well, and
stamps.
the reason
Well,
is
when you like invade every neighboring
right.
like city and town and nation, yeah, you
A
probably
lot
are pretty big
of
deal.
the stories revolve around what is happening in Noxus. So that is one of the major story, because they've basically gone to war with everyone. They've been everywhere they've gone to. So they are the nation kind of tying the rest of Runeterra together.
They're like the Rome of Runeterra.
Tight.
Yeah. So and without having more to go on, without having any other way to establish what is happening, that is kind of the agreed upon timeline, is where are we in relationship to the creation of Noxus?
And you know what the best thing is? Like, listen to us like completely going elbow deep into League of Legends lore. None of this is in the game, by the
right.
way.
Yeah.
You will deduce none of this in game.
Yeah. Each of the characters has a little blip, and sometimes that little blip doesn't have anything to do. I think, is it Shaco that's got a single line of lore in the history of League of Legends or something like that? Something ridiculous.
He needs to just not exist, period.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be sad if he didn't exist.
But so but what I was getting to is the 3 things she initially tries to mention are the 3 pillars of Noxus, and at some point in Noxus, one of the generals, Swain, overthrows the existing power and creates a council of 3 members, and each member represents one of those pillars. It's vision, might, and the other one was some kind of like
Guile,
mystery or something like that. I don't remember what the third one is. And in the game, Vision is Swain, Might is Darius. So they are 2 playable characters. The third one is not a playable character, so I don't remember what it actually is. But so she's reciting those 3 things to Caitlyn, and then adds a 4th one in for, I don't know why, but yeah. But either way, we get this training of Caitlyn that Caitlyn then promptly uses to kick Vi's butt and capture her to bring her to Ambessa.
Yeah. So you said it a couple times this episode, but I am very curious as to when this takes place in the official timeline.
So
because are Swain and Darius like active? Were they former leaders? Have they done like served their time and like passed on, or have they not yet come to power? Like,
so it depends on how much they're going to stick to it, because the feeling that I get from watching Arcane is that this is sometime right after Swain has taken power. However, Swain does not take power until coming back from the first major invasion of Ionia. And
Right.
in that major invasion, the Noxian armies use chem weapons developed by Singed. So if we're sticking to Singed getting drawn into the Noxian army, then for him to make the chem weapons, he would need to be part of them. So we wouldn't be to the Ionian invasion yet. But a lot of the other things are pointing towards this being after the first Ionian invasion, and this whole the stuff going on with LeBlanc and the Medarda feud. LeBlanc is also feuding with Swain and the other generals and everything.
Yeah.
And so it's really confusing, and I don't know that we necessarily get an answer yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they ever place it for real.
LeBlanc is kind of like a timeless person too, like so
LeBlanc
her involvement kind of depends on like what higher up / general of Noxus like she's dealing with at the time. That's the best way to place LeBlanc.
Well, and LeBlanc has been around since, I believe, the foundation of Noxus, which is at least 970 years before Arcane.
Yeah, dude, there's so much, and I don't want to lose anyone who's not like as into the game or like the deep weeds of all of the lore as we are. But man, guys, this is like there is a treasure trove. Like when we've said this before in past episodes, but there are probably thousands of stories they can tell in this universe with these characters, and like these specific characters, probably like 10 or 20 different like stories could be told across numerous seasons. So yeah, man, it's just it's a rich world, and there's so much to unpack from all this stuff. But do you remember, after saying that, just gonna dive right back in, in the Ambessa reveal trailer, the breakdown there, do you remember like what battle that was? Because Ambessa was on a shore with a bunch of dead Noxian armies, but like people were speculating that was the invasion of Ionia, but then due to clues from the video that actually was in Noxus, so that might be able to like help place us on the timeline. It's
really difficult, and that's part of why I'm saying I get the feeling this is after Swain comes to power, because Ambessa is shown in that video with a Noxian arrow in her. So for her to be a Noxian soldier and ultimately become a Noxian general, she is part of them. So why is she dying on a battlefield with an arrow from
and there was like a
Arcane is before the trailer.
No, it's after, because in the trailer Ambessa was probably like Mel's age and pregnant with Eno, assuming, or Mel.
Well, did Mike say that she's not like from Noxia? Like maybe she
that was the theory.
Seeded.
That was the theory,
right?
I think it's been since declared that she is Noxian.
TBD.
Yeah. Either way, she was injured in some kind of infighting in Noxus,
which happened between Thwain and another general, which I can't remember. I think it starts with a B. So there, like I said, there's so much to unpack here. But again, it doesn't rule out the possibility of seeing Swain in these final 3 episodes. Now, Venom, you cannot comment. Don't make any facial expressions. No hints of either way. But there's 3 episodes that we could still see Swain. I don't know if Darius is as feasible, but I really, especially with all of the Black Rose stuff and LeBlanc stuff, like Swain makes a ton of sense to see if we get any more Noxian, like important Noxian characters on screen. Excuse me. But yeah, and since you brought up the whole, I didn't even realize that Singed helping Noxus was like canon in the lore, and or the use of chem weapons in Swain's invasion. So
Yeah.
I mean,
They actually use my understanding is they use the chem weapons from Singed to go in and destroy the Wuju village, whatever it was called, that Master Yi is part of, and literally kill everyone in that village except Master Yi.
Yeah, which is a real shame. Like they should have got that guy, because another super annoying character in game.
Season 5 Master Yi enjoyer.
You're part of the problem, not the solution.
It has not been. I did not play him in any part of the funnel strategy, so you'll be fine to know that.
That's good. But yeah,
so is Rictus in that? The only thing I want to talk about that scene was Rictus recharging, or like what was he doing with his runes, his anti-magic runes?
Oh,
he was like holding his hand over them in the fire, or like it was like he was meditating with them.
I don't know, because that's several times we've seen him kind of playing with the runes and fire and stuff like that. So I don't know, because that's Petrosite. That's the anti-magic
nailed it. Called that one
stone. But I don't know if you need to charge them in the fire or something like that. I'm not sure why he's got them in the fire. What exactly that does to those runes.
Yeah, maybe they're like pizza. Like some people prefer them warm, some people prefer them cold.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I just like I still love those runes, because that kind of gets us. Those come back again in really awesome fashion.
Right.
Because, like I said before, Vi was following Singe out of the camp. Then that's where Vi runs into Caitlyn, like Mike said, or in Venom, you said, like took her down really easily. And that's where we get this kind of like hatched plan.
And we get Ocean's 11 heist.
We get the Ocean's 11 snap back, where it's like the gun, what happened, and then they replay it for it. All in an attempt to disable Mbessa, I would say, because they didn't really do anything with her as far as we could tell. But kind of simultaneously, that's where Rictus and like Caitlyn are in the tent with Vander
and Vander.
Singed, like that's where, like Mike, you said, like so many characters are really get into the maelstrom here. And Jinx ends up fighting Rictus, right? And just awesome, like that dude can like wield that freaking like polearm staff, because with the runes, and she's even like, whoa, like that's cool, I need some of that, because he's just like spinning that thing and it's just absorbing the hex tech shots from that. So that was just like really cool, like mini fight scene. That was pretty neato, but that was kind of like that arc. So like were they really just disabled Mbessa, because she shows back up later. So like I don't know what the purpose was for Vi.
Yeah, I don't know why they wanted to keep Mbessa away from the fight for not even the whole fight, because she shows up while all this is happening. So they literally bought 5 minutes to break Vander out. I don't know.
There's two weird things there. Is like, okay, like they purposely set that all up to get Vi in the same room as Mbessa to like, disable her, and then like it's like Vi walking up like, oh, like was I or whatever she said, like very coyly back to her. I was like, oh, she's gonna like knock her out with like the butt of the gun, and like she's just like out for the episode. But then also Vi like sneaks out of camp, and gets all the way back to the other camp, right, without being detected. But then like you said, Mbessa shows up with everybody later. So I was like, what? Okay. Okay, Vi, that was pointless.
Yeah. She literally shows up maybe 5 minutes after Vi shows up. So it's what was the point here? You were gonna go back, grab this hulking Vander Warwick.
There must be more
thing
there.
and,
I don't know.
And run away. I don't really know.
We're gonna get the other Ocean's 11 like fill-in scene.
Remember, flip side of the coin, guys. Next episode.
Yeah.
Well, also, wait, no, the next episode's title. We haven't been talking a lot about titles because I don't think they mattered all too much. But the next one, I did peep, and it's very interesting because it's like, imagine it like it was
Dragons?
the first time
I'm just
or
kidding.
something, which really is an interesting title because I feel like at the end of this episode we're really kind of resetting a lot of things because it was such a major, like, is everyone dead? Probably not. So we're going somewhere new. So the next episode is
Did
like
Zillion show up? What's going on?
So I just feel like even the title suggests like we should watch episode 7 with like blank slate. As if we're watching it maybe like episode 1. I get that vibe.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think episode 5 might be my favorite title so far. Blisters and Bedrock. I don't know why. Just rolls off the tongue. Very nice.
Fun thing though is like they do use the titles in the episode,
Yeah.
which is great. I am rewatching The Wire on season 2. They also do that, and it's just the most fun thing because when the title is just said in there, you're like, "Ooh, they said the thing." It's like every single episode you get that meme, and I'm like, that was around before all of that, and I'm like, that's just a good feeling, and that's what that feeling is. It's like they said the thing, and like when every episode gives you that, it's fun every time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, that's a good point. I wonder what episode 7 will have in store for us. And it's funny you talk about Ambessa and the net and all that. Like, I didn't even put it together that she just like reappears, and that whole scene was kind of pointless. So yeah, good job pointing that out.
Also, that is the first time we've seen Caitlyn's net trap.
Oh yes, that's right.
An ability of hers in the game is the net that she can shoot at people that stuns them briefly, or doesn't stun. I think it just slows.
But it procs a headshot on them,
right.
And it makes you lunge you backwards. That's the word.
I was gonna say real quick, Ambessa's like face when she sees Rictus like get plastered to the floor by Vander. That like her reaction, like the animation is so awesome in this show, but her reaction was some sort of wonderful melody of like so many different movie scenes, whether it's like Agamemnon from like Troy when he's like when his brother dies and he's like charge, or more recently, Mike, when we're rewatching Tombstone, when like Wyatt Earp's like no, like her reaction in those like seconds when like Rick just dies before she just like charges. I'm like, they encapsulate so many like iconic movie moments in that reaction. I'm like, wow,
that Wyatt Earp scene, man, it's just gets me every time. It's so hilarious. No. Tombstone viewers, shout out. Yeah, so that then brings us right back to where we started in the episode. The crazy ending. Good episode. And I think not that I didn't appreciate it that much or think it was that great, but I feel like after this was a very what's the name of that one? Flanagan show we did? Midnight Club? Is that it?
Yep. Yeah.
It's a very Midnight Club episode.
This one?
This podcast.
Oh, yes.
By the end of it, I have a much higher appreciation and like.
To be fair, the episode did start with the end. The first shot of the episode is the big bulb that Victor is in, already blown apart. And Victor says the lines, I understand. I think he says, I understand now, or I see it now. And then you start the episode, which he also then says at the end of the episode, and you get So really, we were just following their lead.
Hey, I mean,
we started at the end just like they
yeah.
did on the episode.
The whole episode is just Victor completing one thought. Like, like he just complete full circle with Victor.
Yeah, and we totally did the podcast episode intentionally that way to match the show 100%. That was the goal. No, so good episode. Man, it's always fun to break these episodes down with you guys. Nick, 2/3 of the way through season 2. I mean, I know you enjoy Arcane as a whole. You enjoyed season 1 immensely. You enjoy season 2. I would say probably the same, higher, not less.
Well, I was talking. You should watch last week's episode. Ben and I talked about this a little bit. It's hard because, I was referencing how we always discuss like the perfect season length for shows, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5 is pretty awesome. More than that probably kills it. In this case, I think less than that makes it hard because we're always going to be comparing season 1 to season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And already like it's very clear that season 1 and 2 are very different shows. On so many levels. The things that they're doing in season 2 is just like a whole different like tier of show. Whereas like season 1's very grounded. This season is not very grounded.
Right.
So it's hard to compare them, but like you're forced to because you don't have a third season in the middle to kind of like bridge the gap. We're really just kind of like here, and there's just no stopping this train. So yeah, I can't really. I need to. I always have to finish it out, and maybe give a judgment then.
But enjoyment, I'm just getting at like still.
Oh yeah, enjoyment. Yeah, super high. I think the only trick here is that we are running out of time. They are opening more and more. They're opening more doors than they are closing them. As we kind of like barrel into the last 3 episodes. So, the third arc has a lot of work to do to like not make me feel like they wish they did a third season. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't want to like have those regretting thoughts where it's like, they should have done a third season.
Yeah.
I just hope they can park things, leave things open-ended that should be. Like I think Singe last episode was at Venom. We were talking about Singe. Like he just needs to get parked. His whole thing just needs stopped. Like we don't need any more Singed. Obviously he can still be in the show because he's a pretty big character at this point.
Right. But it's too late to really develop him further.
Yeah, like that needs to be saved for the next series or something. So like there's things like that just need to like we need to pivot into the main thing of the show. So I hope they can do that and gracefully kind of wrap this up.
Now, the point of the question, what I was ultimately getting at, where do you sit now, interest level? I'm not talking about the game. Okay. I'm not talking about the game. This has nothing to do with playing the game, but your interest level in the greater world of Runeterra and the greater lore of League of Legends.
It really rests on Arc 3 here, Arc 6 of the whole series, because like if they like botch it, I'm gonna like just be like keyboard in the air, like I don't give a shit, because you got like I don't want them to leave it as like ominous and confusing as it is. I want them to like really kind of pare it down and be like, this is what you have to look forward to. Like, be excited for the next series. Be excited for like whatever we do next. Because right now, like we, even as we talk about this, like Venom's pulling like ethereal strings out of the air, and like it's all this stuff that's out here, and it's like you kind of got the mad web. It's like when you walk into the room and Charlie Day has like the whole board before, you're like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Like, I don't care. Like, what are you talking to me about? So I want the show to undo a little bit of that mad web board and like ground me as to like, what should I care about in this story? Because there's just so much. So I think they need to really like hone it in to like build it up for the next thing. Because that was the nice thing about season 1. It was like it wasn't that expansive. We were very like dialed in. So I don't want like scope creep on the series.
That's a good terminology there. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I'll keep that in mind as we finish up these last 3 episodes. Do you feel overwhelmed? Like I love how this is just turning into an interview of Nick. But like, do you feel overwhelmed with the amount of stuff, like tangents Venom and I go off on some of these like possible connections to characters and regions and events?
I think when we go like 2 tiers deep, when we start talking about the interconnectivity of the direct references to the things in the show, is where it's like now we're really in the point of conjecture, where like we're really talking about things that no one knows anything about. But like I do like that those connections are there, because it helps things like I was talking about in the last episode. Again, you weren't here. I'm just keep rubbing that in.
Thanks.
The Mel thing, right? The Mel thing has this very like I relate it to an arc in Game of Thrones when Daenerys goes to one of the free cities and there's like the weird vampire people that like want to steal her eggs. It's like a one-off thing where it's like, oh, this is like a crazy like ominous threat, but like it has no impact on the rest of anything. So like the Mel thing feels that way, because as me, like I have no idea like what's going on there. It's kind of cool, and like she's clearly off on her own little adventure, but like without the like connections that like Venom explained last episode, it's like, okay, that makes it a little bit more sensible as to what's going on. So I think it helps overall, because I think that's been like the most of the issues we've had with this season, is when we're kind of like floating in this weird space during some episodes where like they didn't really take us anywhere. They just added a bunch of just stuff that has like no connections to anything yet. The Mel thing's a really good example. It's like loosely tied to Mbessa, but Mbessa hasn't really bothered with any of that Mel stuff at all since she disappeared, other than saying everyone's disappeared and I suck at, doing a military coup takeover because I lost all the scientists and smart people. Beyond that, like, Mbessa's moved on. She's like, Singed, you the guy.
Yeah, she just totally like does not care about her missing daughter.
Yeah. So yeah, no, those things help.
Okay.
I think where they get like lost is when like you guys start connecting like 2-3 tier deep like discussions on characters that have like no relation to the show. It's like
the effects of Singed on the Freljord.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was used there. It was on Ionia primarily.
Yeah. Good to know.
Darius goes to the Freljord. Swain goes to Ionia.
Singed is like the Kevin Bacon of Runeterra. It's just like, somehow you can like 6 degrees of sin. He's touched every corner of Runeterra. Okay, cool. I will check in with you, of course, in the finale of Arcane. And I'm interested to see what happens to these final 3 episodes. I think I still have I don't remember exactly all the wild, bold predictions I've made throughout the podcast season so far, but there are 3 episodes left to fulfill them. And if any of them pop up, I'm sure that I will be gloating loudly about it here on a podcast episode. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I would ask you Venom, but you've already seen them, so you cannot.
The only thing I can say is I recommend watching these episodes multiple times.
Okay.
That pays off every time. I regretted not rewatching episode 5 before the episode.
With the sheer amount of things they, like Nick was saying, every episode they take questions we already have and throw more questions at us as answers. So with the sheer amount of loose ends and open doors and all of this going on, with the sheer amount of things we need to wrap up here, it is going to be really easy to miss things. And I fully expect to have to go through lore discussions as we go on further.
These episodes will get longer and longer.
Yep.
Or maybe not. Like, I think in my mind, the finale will be so nicely like wrapped up. Like, we're just appeased with everything. We're like, yep, check.
Yeah, but then
great.
it'll be like 2 hours of Venom and I being like, all right, so season 12 of the next Arcane show.
Maybe we need a post episode where we talk about all the conjecture that needs to happen.
Where are we going from here?
Yeah.
Arcane season 2's over. What's next?
I'll leave you. They do give a few really good paths that we could follow at the end of this season.
Yeah, so there will definitely be heavy speculation in the finale on our parts. But yeah, make sure you guys tune in here for our final 3 episodes. I mean, Act 3's been out for a while now by the time this episode releases. But hopefully the 3 of us can bring some answers to some of these tangled web messes of storylines. I shouldn't say messes, but yeah, there's a lot going on, and we'll break it down for you. So tune in, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you thought about episode 6, what your favorite moments, and enter to win the Steelbook giveaways. So until next time, we'll see you.